Yeah. Greetings, everyone. Child, I know I'm late, overly ambitious as usual. What was supposed to be a 30-minute reading ended up being an hour reading. An hour? That was, child, longer than that. It was longer than that. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Offer. I just need to check something real quick and then we'll get started, okay? Make sure I haven't been booked. And yep. Yep. Okay. What the fuck ever. Okay. So unlike usual, for this live, I am actually going to leave my phone on. So if we are disturbed, I am sorry, but I have signed myself up to work today, so I need my alerts to be able to come on so I can know if a job comes through or whatever. Anyway, let's see. That is that. Okay. Okay. So as promised earlier, we are going to be reading. It's been a minute, I know. We're going to continue reading from the book, The Parable of the Sower. But as I just stated a little less than an hour ago, my intro for everything that I do now is going to be The Conspiracy of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I'm going to read it as our introduction. So my name is Cassandra Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. I, Cassandra Floyd, as a peculiar expression of the almighty divine she, the great cosmic mother, now join in breath with my whole global family to conspire on behalf of the world made whole, the whole world, the whole made well, to conspire on behalf of the whole made well. We are breathing these words together now to ensure that our home, her body, is restored to her original perfect glory. Her glory is perfect in peace, love, bliss, happiness, ecstasy, and sovereignty. This world exists because we collectively will it so now. We, as the representatives of the mother's reign on earth, speak this beautiful conspiracy as a single cosmic earthly orchestra to guarantee heaven on earth in joyful compliance with our mother's divine will. Possessing the power of our mothers, we welcome this glorious future now. It is certainly as we speak it. Mommy and I are one. That's what I'm going to read to y'all every time we get up on here from now until it's done. So, again, I'm Cassandra. I'm going to do a short read because I was overly ambitious in scheduling these back-to-back lives when I knew I had a reading in between. And even though it was 30 minutes, and it's supposed to be 30 minutes, and it was an hour and a half. So now I'm tired. I need to get something to drink, but I guess I can wait until I'm done reading. Okay, y'all ready? It's been a minute. All right. Chapter 15. We're starting on page 153 for people who have the book. Chapter 15. Kindness eases change. Earth Seeds. The books of the living. Sunday, August 1st, 2027. Harry slept most of the day today. Zara and I took turns staying with him. He has a concussion at least, and he needs time to heal. We haven't talked about what we'll do if he gets sicker instead of healing. Zara doesn't want to abandon him because he fought to save her. I don't want to abandon him because I've known him all my life. He's a good guy. I wonder if there's some way to get in touch with the Garfields. They would give him a home, or at least see that he has medical care. But he doesn't seem to be getting worse. He totters out to the fenced backyard to urinate. He eats the food and drinks the water that I give him. With no need for discussion, we're eating and drinking sparingly from my supplies. They're all we have. They're all we have. Let's see. Soon we'll have to risk we'll have to risk going out to buy more. But today, Sunday, is a day of rest and healing for us. The pain of Harry's headache and his bruised, beaten body are almost welcome to me. They're distractions. Along with Zara's talking and crying for her dead daughter, they fill my mind. Their misery eases my own somehow. It gives me moments when I don't think about my own family. Everyone is dead. But how can they be? Everyone? Zara has a soft little girl voice that I used to think was phony. It's real, but it takes on a sandpaper roughness when she's upset. It sounds painful, as though it's abrading her throat as she speaks. She had seen her daughter killed, seen the blue face who shot Bibi as Zara ran, carrying her. She believed the blue face was enjoying himself, shooting at all the moving targets. She said his expression reminded her of a man having sex. I fell down, she whispered. I thought I was dead. I thought he had killed me. There was blood. Then I saw Bibi's head drop to one side. A red face grabbed her from me. I didn't see where he came from. He grabbed her and threw her into the shoe house. The house was burning everywhere. He threw her into the fire. Oh man. It went crazy then. I don't know what I did. Somebody grabbed me. Then I was free. Then somebody shoved me down and fell on me. I couldn't get my breath, and he tore my clothes. Then he was on me, and I couldn't do nothing. That's when I saw your mother and your brothers. Then Harry was there, and he pulled the bastard off me. He told me later that I was screaming. I don't know what I was doing. He was beating up the guy he pulled off me when a new guy jumped him. He beat the new guy with a rock, and Harry knocked the other one out. Then we got away. We just ran. We didn't sleep. He hid between two unwalled houses down the street, away from the fire, until a guy came out with an axe and chased us away. Then we just wandered until we found you. We didn't even really know each other before. Richard never wanted us to have much to do with the neighbors, especially the white ones. I nodded, remembering Richard Moss. He's dead, I said. I saw him. I wanted to take the words back as soon as I'd said them. I didn't know how to tell someone her husband was dead, but there must be a better, gentler way than that. She stared at me, stricken. I wanted to apologize for my bluntness, but I didn't think it would help. I'm sorry, I said in a kind of generic apology for everything. She began to cry, and I repeated, I'm sorry. I held her and let her cry. Harry woke up, drank a little water, and listened while Zara told how Richard Moss had bought her from her homeless mother when she was only 15, younger than I had thought, and brought her to live in the first house she'd ever known. He gave her enough to eat and didn't beat her, and even when her co-wives were hateful to her, it was 1,000 times better than living outside with her mother and starving. Now she was outside again. In 6 years, she had gone from nothing to nothing. Do you have some place to go? She asked us at last. Do you know anybody who still has a house? I looked at Harry. You might be able to get into the Olivar if you can walk there from here. The Garfields would take you in. He thought about that for a while. I don't want to, he said. I don't think there's any more future in Olivar than there was in our neighborhood. But at least in our neighborhood, we had the guns. For all the good that did us, Zara muttered. I know, but they were our guns, not hired gunmen. No one could turn them against us. In Olivar, from what Joanne said, no one's allowed to have a gun except the security force. And who the hell are they? Company people, I said. People from outside Olivar. He nodded. That's what I heard too. Maybe it'll be all right, but it doesn't sound all right. It sounds better than starving, Zara said. You guys have never missed a meal, have you? I'm going north, I said. I planned to go anyway once my family was back on its feet. Now I have no family. I'm going. North where? Zara demanded. Go up towards Canada. The way things are now, I may not be able to get that far, but I'll get to a place where water doesn't cost more than food and where work brings a salary, even a small one. I'm not going to spend my life as some kind of 21st century slave. North is where I'm headed to, Harry said. There's nothing here. I've tried for over a year to get a job here. Any job that pays money. There's nothing. I want to work for money and get some college. The only jobs that pay serious money are the kind our parents had, the kind that require college degrees. I looked at him wanting to ask something, hesitating, plunging. Harry, what about your parents? I don't know, he said. I didn't see them killed. Zara says she didn't. I don't know where anyone is. We all got separated. I swallowed. I didn't see your parents, I said, but I did see some of your other relatives dead. Who? He demanded. I guess there really isn't any way to tell people that their close relatives are dead except to say it, no matter how much you don't want to. Your grandfather, I said, and Jeremy and Robin. Robin and Jeremy? Robin and Jeremy? Kids? Little kids? Zara took his hand. They kill little kids, she said. Out here in the world, they kill kids every day. He didn't cry, or maybe he cried when we were asleep. First, though, he closed himself up, stopped talking, stopped responding, stopped doing anything until it was nearly dark. By then, Zara had gone out and come back with my brother Bennett's shirt full of ripe peaches. Don't ask me where I got them, she said. I assume you stole them, I said. Not from anyone around here, I hope. No sense making the neighbors mad. She lifted an eyebrow. I don't need you to tell me how to live out here. I was born out here. Eat your peaches. I ate 4 of them. They were delicious and too ripe to travel well anyway. Why don't you try some of those? Why don't you try on some of those clothes? I said. Take what fits you. She fit not only into Marcus's shirt and jeans. Though she had to roll the jean legs up, but into his shoes. Shoes are expensive. Now she has 2 pair. You let me do it. I'll trade these little shoes for some food, she said. I nodded. Tomorrow, whatever you get, we'll split it. Then I'm leaving. Going north? Yes. Just north? Do you know anything about the roads and the towns and where to buy stuff or steal it? Have you got any money? I have maps, I said. They're old, but I think they're still good. No one's been building new roads lately. Hell no. Money? A little. Not enough, I suspect. No such thing as enough money. What about him? She gestured towards Harry's unmoving back. He was lying down. I couldn't tell whether he was asleep or not. He has to decide for himself, I said. Maybe he wants to hang around to look for his family before he goes. He turned over slowly. He looked sick, but fully aware. Zara put the peaches she had saved for him next to him. I don't want to wait for anything, he said. I wish we could start now. I hate this place. You going with her? Zara asked, jabbing a thumb at me. He looked at me. We might be able to help each other, he said. At least we know each other. And I managed to grab a few $100s as I ran out of the house. He was offering trust. He meant we could trust each other. That was no small thing. I was thinking of traveling as a man, I said to him. He seemed to be repressing a smile. That will be safer for you. You're at least tall enough to fool people. You'll have to cut your hair, though. Zara grunted. Mixed couples catch hell whether people think they're gay or straight. Harry'll piss off all the blacks and you'll piss off all the whites. Good luck. I watched her as she said it and realized what she wasn't saying. You want to come? I asked. She sniffed. Why should I? I won't cut my hair. No need, I said. We can be a black couple and their white friend. If Harry can get a reasonable tan, maybe we can claim him as a cousin. She hesitated, then whispered, "Yeah, I want to go." And she started to cry. Harry stared at her in surprise. "Did you think we were going to just jump? Did you think we were just going to dump you?" I asked. "All you had to do was let us know." "I don't have any money," she said. "Not a dollar." I sighed. "Where did you get those peaches?" "You were right. I stole them." "You have a useful skill then, and information about living out here." I faced Harry. "What do you think?" "Her stealing doesn't bother you?" he asked. I mean to survive," I said. "Thou shalt not steal," he quoted. "Years and years, a lifetime of thou shalt not steal." I had to smother a flash of anger before I could answer. He wasn't my father. He had no business quoting scripture at me. He was nobody, and I didn't look at him. I didn't speak. I didn't speak until I knew my voice would sound normal. Then I said, "I mean to survive," I told him. "Don't you?" He nodded. It wasn't a criticism. I'm just surprised. "I hope it won't ever mean getting caught or leaving someone else to starve," I said. And to my own surprise, I smiled. I thought about it. That's the way I feel, but I've never stolen anything. "You're kidding," Zara said. I shrugged. "It's true. I grew up trying to set a good example for my brothers and trying to live up to my father's expectations. That seemed like what I should be doing." "Oldest kid," Harry said. "I know. He was the oldest in his family." "Old as hell," Zara said, laughing. You're both babies out here." And that wasn't "You're both babies out here." And that wasn't offensive somehow. Perhaps because it was true. I'm inexperienced, I admitted. I'm inexperienced, I admitted. "But I can learn. You're going to be one of my teachers." "One," she said. uh who have you got but me?" "Everyone." She looked scornful. "No one." "Everyone who's surviving out here knows things that I need to know," I said. "I'll watch them. I'll listen to them. I will learn from them. If I don't, I'll be killed. And like I said, I intend to survive." "They'll sell you a bowl of shit," she said. I nodded. "I know, but I'll buy as few of those as possible." She looked at me for a long time, then sighed. "I wish I'd known you better before all this happened," she said. "You're a weird preacher's kid. If you still want to play man, I'll cut your hair for you." Monday, August 7th, 2027. From notes expanded Sunday, August 8th. We're on our way. This morning, Zara took us to Hanning Joss, the biggest secure store complex in Robledo. We could get all we needed there. Hanning vendors sell everything from gourmet food to delousing cream, prostheses to home birthing kits, guns to the latest torch rings, headsets, and recordings. I could have spent days just wandering through the aisles staring at the stuff I couldn't afford. Yes, August 2nd, 2027. August 2nd, 2027. Um, I'd never seen Hanning before, had never seen anything like it in person. But we had to go into the complex one at a time, leaving two outside to guard our bundles, including my gun. Hanning, as I had heard many times on the radio, was one of the safest places in the city. Um, why is that catching y'all attention? I don't get it. What happened? What had happened? What had happened? What I miss? Uh, Thrift ID and balance. What y'all talking about? What I miss? um. Okay. Hanning, as I had heard many times on the radio, was one of the safest places in the city. If you didn't like their sniffers, metal detectors, package restrictions, armed guards, and willingness to strip search anyone they thought was suspicious on the way in or out, you could shop somewhere else. The store was full of people eager to put up with the inconvenience and invasion of privacy if only they could buy the things they needed in peace. No one strip searched me, though I was required to prove that I wasn't a deadbeat. Show your handing disc or money, an armed guard demanded at the massive gates. I was terrified that he would steal my money, but I shoved the bills that I intended to spend, and he nodded. He never touched them. No doubt we were both being watched and our behaviors recorded. Such a security conscious store wouldn't want its guards stealing the customer's money. Shop in peace, the guard said with no hint of a smile. I bought salt, a small tube of honey, and the cheapest of dried foods, oats, fruits, nuts, bean flour, lentils, plus a little dried beef. All that I thought Zara and I could carry. And I thought more water and a few odd items, water purification tablets just in case, and sunblocker, which even Zara and I would need, some stuff for insect bites, and an ointment Dad used for muscle aches. We would have plenty of those. I bought more toilet paper, tampons, and lip balm. I bought myself a new notebook, 2 more pens, and an expensive supply of ammunition for the 45. I felt better once I had that. I bought 3 of the cheap multi-purpose sleep sacks, big, tough storage bags, and the preferred bedding of all the more affluent homeless. The country was full of people who could earn or steal food and water, but could not rent even a cot. These might sleep on the streets or in makeshift shacks, but if they could, they put a sleep sack between their bodies and the ground. The sacks, with their own strapping, fold to serve as packs during the day. They're light, tough, and able to survive most abuse. They're warm even if you have to sleep on concrete, but they're thin, more useful than comfortable. Curtis and I used to make love on a pallet of them. And I bought 3 oversized jackets of the same thin, breathing synthetic as the sleep sacks. They'll finish the job of keeping us warm at night as we moved north. They look cheap and ugly, and that's good. They may not get stolen. That was the end of my money. The money I had packed in the emergency pack. I haven't touched the money that I took from the foot of the lemon tree. That I had split in half and put in 2 of my father's socks. I keep it pinned inside my jeans, invisible and unavailable to pickpockets. It isn't a lot of money, but it's more than I've ever had before, more than anyone could expect me to have. I pinned it where it is, rewrapped in plastic and secure in the socks on Saturday night when I'd finished writing and still couldn't stop thinking and remembering and knowing there was nothing I could do about it. There was nothing I could do about the past. Then I had a kind of tactile memory of grabbing the money packet and a handful of dirt and stuffing both into my pack. I had an incredible amount of nervous energy that was spending itself in jitterness. My hands shook so that I could hardly find the money. But I feel in darkness. I made it an exercise in concentration to find the money, socks, and pens, divide the money in half, or as close to in half as I could without seeing, put it into the socks and pin it in place. I checked it. When I went out to urinate the next morning, I'd done a good job. The pins didn't show at all on the outside. I'd put them through the seams down near my ankles. Nothing dangling, no problems. I took my many purchases out to what was once the ground floor of the parking structure and was now a kind of semi-enclosed flea market. Many of the things dug out of ash heaps and landfills wind up for sale here. The rule is that if you buy something in the store, you can sell something of similar value in the structure. Your receipt, coded and dated, is your peddler's license. The structure was patrolled, though more to check those licenses than to keep anyone safe. Still, the structure was safer than the street. 2027. Okay, I see. I found Harry and Zara sitting on our bundles, Harry waiting to go inside the store and Zara waiting for her license. They had put their backs against a wall of the store at a spot away from the street and away from the biggest crowd of buyers and sellers. I gave Zara the receipt and began to separate and pack our new supplies. We would leave as soon as Zara and Harry finished their buying and selling. We walked down to the freeway, the 118, and turned west. We would take the 118 to the 23 and the 23 to US 101. The 101 would take us up the coast toward Oregon. We became part of a broad river of people walking west on the freeway. Only a few straggled east against the current, east towards the mountain and the desert. Where were the westward walkers going? To something or just away from here? We saw a few trucks, most of them run at night, swarms of bikes or electric cycles, and 2 cars. All of these had plenty of room to speed along the outer lanes past us. We're safer if we keep to the left lanes away from the freeways, but the law is archaic. Everyone who walks on the freeways sooner or later. Freeways provide the most direct routes between cities and parts of cities. Greetings, everyone. Dad walked or bicycled on them often. Some prostitutes and peddlers of food, water, and other necessities live along the freeways in sheds or shacks or in the open air. Beggars and thieves and murderers live here too. But I've never walked a freeway before today. I found the experience both fascinating and frightening. In some ways, the scene reminded me of an old film I once saw of a street in mid-20th century China. Walkers, bicyclers, people carrying, pulling, pushing loads of all kinds. But the freeway crowd is a heterogeneous mass. Black and white, Asian and Latin. Whole families are on the move with babies on their backs or perched atop loads in carts, wagons, or bicycle baskets, sometimes along with an old or handicapped person. Other old, ill, or handicapped people hobbled along as best they could with the help of sticks or fitter companions. Many were armed with sheathed knives, rifles, and, of course, visible holstering handguns. The occasional passing cop paid no attention. Children cried, played, squatted, did everything except eat. Almost no one ate while walking. I saw a couple of people drink from canteens. They took quick, furtive gulps as though they were doing something shameful or something dangerous. Or some. Please share what, Balance? Share what? Peace and blessings to those of you who have come on to the IG. If you're wondering what I'm reading, I am reading the book Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, about a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles that began in the year 2024. Where we are now, the protagonist is in the year 2027. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Okay, yeah. A woman alongside us collapsed. I got no impression of pain from her, except at the sudden impact of her body weight on her knees. That made me stumble, but not fall. The woman sat where she had fallen for a few seconds, then lurched to her feet and began walking again, leaning forward under her huge pack. Almost everyone was filthy. Their bags and bundles and packs were filthy. They stank. And we, who have slept on concrete and ashes and in the dirt, and who have not bathed for 3 days, we fitted in pretty well. Only our new sleep sacks gave us away as either new to the road or at least in a possession of new stealables. We should have dirtied the packs a little before we got started. We will dirty them tonight. I'll see to it. There were a few young guys around, lean and quick, some filthy, some not dirty at all. Keiths, today's Keiths. The ones who bothered me, the ones who bothered me most weren't carrying much. Some were carrying anything except weapons. Predators, predators. They looked around a lot, stared at people, and the people looked away. I looked away. I was glad to see that Harry and Zara did the same. We didn't need trouble. If trouble came, I hoped we could kill it and keep walking. The gun was finally loaded now, and I wore it holstered, but half covered by my shirt. Harry bought himself a knife. The money he had snatched up as he ran from his burning house had not been enough to buy a gun. I could have bought a second gun, but it would have taken too much of my money, and we have a long way to go. Zara used the shoe money to buy herself a knife and a few personal things. I'd refused my share of that money. She needed a few dollars in her pocket. The day she and Harry used their knives, I hope they kill. If they don't, I might have to escape the pain. And what will they think of that? They deserve to know that I am a sharer. For their own safety, they should know, but I've never told anyone. Sharing is a weakness, a shameful secret. A person who knows what I am can hurt me, betray me, disable me with a little effort. I can't tell, not yet. I'll have to tell soon, I know, but not yet. We're together, the three of us, but we're not a unit yet. Harry and I don't know Zara very well, nor she us, and none of us know what will happen when we're challenged. A racist challenge might force us apart. I want to trust these people. I like them, and they're all I have left, but I need more time to decide. It's no small thing to commit yourself to other people. You okay? Zara said. I nodded. You look like hell, and you're so damn poker faced most of the time. Just thinking, I said. There's so much to think about right now. She sighed her breath out in a near whistle. Yeah, I know. But keep your eyes open. You get too wrapped up in your thinking and you'll miss things. People get killed on freeways all the time. Chapter 16. Earthseed cast on new ground must Earthseed cast on new ground must first perceive that it knows nothing. Monday, August 2nd, 2027, continued from notes expanded August 8th. Here are some of the things I've learned today. Walking hurts. I've never done enough walking to learn that before, but I know now. It isn't only the blisters and sore feet, although we've got those. After a while, everything hurts. I think my back, my shoulders would like to. I think my back and shoulders would like to desert to another body. Nothing eases the pain except rest. Even though we got a late start, we stopped twice today to rest. We went off the freeway into the hills and bushes to sit down, drink water, eat dried food and nuts. Then we went on. The days are long this time of the year. Sucking on a plum or apricot pit all day makes you feel less thirsty. Zara told us that. When I was a kid, she said, there were times when I would put a little rock in my mouth, anything to feel better. It's a cheat, though. If you don't drink enough water, you'll die no matter how you feel. All three of us walked along with seeds in our mouths after our first stop, and we felt better. We drank only during our stops in the hills. It's safer that way. Also, cold camps are safer than cheery campfires. Yet tonight, cold camps are safer than cheery campfires. Yet tonight, we cleared some ground, dug into a hillside, and made a small fire in the hollow. There, we cooked some of my acorn meal with nuts and fruits. It was wonderful. Soon we'll run out of it, and we'll have to survive on beans, cornmeal, and oats, expensive stuff from the stores. Acorns are home food, and home is gone. Fires are illegal. You can see them flickering all over the hills, but they are illegal. Everything is so dry. Everything is so dry that there's always danger. There's always a danger of campfires getting away from people and taking out a community or two. It does happen. The people who have no homes will build fires. Even people like us who know what fire can do will build them. They give comfort, hot food, and a false sense of security. While we were eating, and even after we'd finished, people drifted over and tried to join us. Most were harmless and easily gotten rid of. 3 claimed they just wanted to get warm. The sun was still up, red on the horizon, and it was far from cold. 3 women wanted to know whether 2 studs like Harry and me didn't need more than 1 woman. The women who asked this may have been cold, considering how few clothes they had on. It's going to be strange for me pretending to be a man. Couldn't I just roast this potato in your coals? One old man asked, showing us his withered potato. We gave him some fire and sent him away, and watched to see where he went. Since a burning brand could be either a weapon or a major distraction if he had friends hiding. It's crazy to live this way, suspecting helpless old people. It's insane, but we need our paranoia to keep us alive. Hell, Harry wanted to let the old guy sit with us. It took Zara and me together to let him know that wasn't going to happen. Harry and I have been well fed and protected all our lives. We're strong and healthy and better educated than most people our age. But we're stupid out here. We want to trust people. I fight against the impulse. Harry hasn't learned to do that yet. We argued about it afterward, low voice, almost whispering. Nobody's safe, Zara told him. No matter how pitiful they look, they can steal you naked. Little kids, skinny and big-eyed, will make off with all your money, water, and food. I know. I used to do it to people. Maybe they died. I don't know, but I didn't die. Harry and I both stared at her. We knew so little about her life, but to me, at that moment, Harry was our most dangerous question mark. You're strong and confident, I said to him. You think you can take care of yourself out here, and maybe you can. But think what a stab wound or a broken bone would mean out here. Disablement, slow death from infection or starvation, no medical care, nothing. He looked at me as though he wasn't sure he wanted to know, as if he was sure he didn't want to know me anymore. What then? He asked. Everybody's guilty until proven innocent? Guilty of what? And how do they prove themselves to you? I don't give a piss whether they're innocent or not, Zara said. Let them tend to their own business. Harry, your mind is still back in the neighborhood, I said. You still think a mistake is when your father yells at you or you break a finger or chip a tooth or something. Out here, a mistake. One mistake, and you may be dead. Remember that guy today? What if that had happened to us? We had seen a man robbed, a chubby guy of 35 or 40 who was walking along eating nuts out of a paper bag. Not smart. A little kid of 12 or 13 snatched the nuts and ran off with them. While the victim was distracted by the little kid, 2 bigger kids tripped him, cut his pack straps, dragged the pack off his back, and ran off with it. The whole thing happened so fast that no one could have even interfered if they'd wanted to. No one tried. The victim was unhurt except for bruises and abrasions, that sort of thing. Bruises and abrasions, that sort of thing I had to put up with every day back in the neighborhood. But the victim's supplies were gone. If he had a home nearby and other supplies, he would be all right. Otherwise, his only way of surviving might be to rob someone else, if he could. Remember, I asked Harry, we don't have to hurt anyone unless they push us into it, but we don't have to dare let our guard down. We can't trust people. Harry shook his head. What if I thought that way when I pulled that guy off Zara? I held on to my temper. Harry, you know I didn't mean we shouldn't trust and help each other. We know each other. We made a commitment to travel together. I'm not sure we do know each other. I am, and we can't afford your denial. You can't afford it. He just stared at us. Out here, you adapt to your surroundings or you get killed, I said. That's obvious. Now he did look at me as though I were a stranger. I looked back, hoping I knew him as well as I thought I did. He had a brain and he had courage. He just didn't want to change. Do you want to break off with us? Zara asked. Go your own way without us? His gaze softened as he looked at her. No, he said, of course not. But we don't have to turn into animals for God's sake. In a way, we do, I said. We're a pack, the three of us, and all those other people out there aren't in it. If we're a good pack and we work together, we have a chance. You can be sure we aren't the only pack out here. He leaned back against a rock and said with amazement, "You damn sure talk macho enough to be a guy." I almost hit him. Maybe Zara and I would be better off without him. But no, that wasn't true. Numbers matter. Friendship mattered. One real male presence mattered. Don't repeat that, I whispered, leaning close to him. Never say that again. There are other people all over these hills. You don't know who's listening. You give me away and you weaken yourself. That reached him. Sorry, he said. It's bad out here, Zara said, but most people make it if they're careful. People weaker than us make it if they're careful. Harry gave a wan smile. I hate this world already, he said. It's not so bad if people stick together. He looked from her to me and back to her again. He smiled at her and nodded. It occurred to me then that he liked her, was attracted to her, that could be a problem for her later. She was a beautiful woman, and I would never be beautiful, which didn't bother me. Boys had always seemed to like me. Zara's looks grabbed male attention. If she and Harry get together, she could wind up carrying 2 heavy loads northward. I was lost in thought about the 2 of them when Zara nudged me with her foot. Nudged me with her foot. 2 big, dirty-looking guys were standing nearby, watching us, watching Zara in particular. I stood up, feeling the others stand with me, flanking me. These guys were too close to us. They meant to be too close to us. As I stood up, I put my hand on my gun. Yeah, I said, what do you want? Not a thing, one of them said, smiling at Zara. Both wore big holstered knives, which they fingered. I drew the gun. Good deal, I said. Their smiles vanished. What? You going to shoot us for standing here? The talkative one said. I thumbed the safety. I would shoot the talker, the leader. The other one would run away. He already wanted to run away. He was staring open-mouthed at the gun. By the time I collapsed, he would be gone. Hey, no trouble. The talker raised his hands, backing away. Take it easy, man. I let them go. I think it would have been better to shoot them. I'm afraid of guys like that, guys looking for trouble, looking for victims. But it seems I can't quite shoot someone just because I'm afraid of him. I killed a man on the night of the fire, and I haven't thought much about it. But this was different. It was like what Harry said about stealing. I've heard, thou shalt not kill, all my life. But when you have to, you kill. I wonder what Dad would say about that. But then he was the one who taught me to shoot. We'd better keep a damn good watch out tonight, I said. I looked at Harry and was glad to see that he looked the way I probably had a moment before, mad and worried. Let's pass your watch and my gun around, I told him. 3 hours per watcher. You would have done it, wouldn't you? He asked. It sounded like a real question. I nodded. Wouldn't you? Yes. I wouldn't have wanted to, but those guys were out for fun. Their idea of fun anyway. He glanced at Zara. He had pulled one man off of her already and taken a beating for it. Maybe the obvious threat to her would keep him alert. Anything that would keep him alert couldn't be all bad. I looked at Zara, kept my voice very low. You never went shooting with us, so I have to ask, do you know how to use this? Yeah, she said. Richard let his older kids go out, but he wouldn't let me. Before he bought me though, I was a good shot. her alien past again. It distracted me for a moment. I had been waiting to ask her how much a person cost these days, and she had been sold by her mother to a man who couldn't have been much more than a stranger. He could have been a maniac, a monster, and my father used to worry about future slavery or debt slavery. Had he known, he couldn't have. Have you used a gun like this before? I asked. I re-engaged the safety and handed it to her. Hell yeah, she said, examining it. I like this. It's heavy, but if you have to shoot somebody with it, they go down. She released the clip, checked it, reinserted it, rammed it home, and handed it back. I wish I could have practiced with y'all, she said. I always wanted to. Without warning, I felt a pang of loneliness from the burned neighborhood. It was almost a physical pain. I had been desperate to leave it, but I had expected it would still be there, changed but surviving. Now that it was gone, there were moments when I couldn't imagine how I was going to survive without it. You guys get some sleep, I said. I'm too wound up to go to sleep now. I'll take the first watch. We should gather more wood for this fire first, Harry said. It's burning low. Let it go out, I said. It's a spotlight on us, and it messes up our night vision. Other people can see us long before we can see them. And sit here in the dark, he said. It wasn't a protest. At worst, it was grudging agreement. I'll take the watch after you, he said, lying back and pulling up the sleep sack and positioning the rest of his gear to serve as a pillow. As an afterthought, he took off his wristwatch and gave it to me. It was a gift from my mother, he said. You know, I'll take care of it, I told him. He nodded. You be careful, he said, and closed his eyes. I put the watch on, pulled the elastic of my sleeve down over it so that the glow of the dial wouldn't be visible by accident, and sat back against the hill to make a few quick notes. While there was still some natural light, I could write and watch. Sarah watched me for a while, then laid her hand on my arm. Teach me how to do that, she whispered. I looked at her, not understanding. Teach me to read and write. I was surprised, but I shouldn't have been. Where in a life like hers had there been time or money for school? And once Richard Moss bought her, her jealous co-wives wouldn't have taught her. You should have come to us back in the neighborhood, I said. We would have set up lessons for you. Richard wouldn't let me. He said I already knew enough to suit him. I groaned. I'll teach you. We can start tomorrow morning if you want. Okay. She gave me an odd smile and began ordering her bag and her few possessions, bundled it in my scavenged pillowcase. She lay down in her bag and turned on her side to look at me. I didn't think I'd like you, she said. Preacher's kid all over the place, teaching, telling everybody what to do, sticking your damn nose in everything. But you ain't bad. I went from surprise into amusement of my own. Neither are you, I said. You didn't like me either? Her turn to be surprised. You were the best looking woman in the neighborhood. No, I wasn't crazy about you. And remember a couple of years ago when you tried your hardest to make me throw up while I was learning to clean and skin rabbits? Why'd you want to learn that anyway? She asked. Blood, guts, worms. I just figured, there she goes again, sticking her nose where it don't belong. Well, I'll let her have it. I wanted to know that I could do that. Handle a dead animal, skin it, butcher it, treat its hide to make leather. I wanted to know how to do it and that I could do it without getting sick. Why? Because I thought someday I might have to, and we might out here. Same reason I put together an emergency pack and kept it where I could grab it. I wondered about you having all that stuff from home. At first I thought maybe you got it all when you went back, but no, you were ready for all the trouble. You saw it coming. No, I shook my head, remembering no one could have been ready for that, but I thought something would happen someday. I didn't know how bad it would be or when it would come, but everything was getting worse. The climate, the economy, the crime, drugs, I didn't believe we would be allowed to sit behind our walls looking clean and fat and rich to hungry, thirsty, homeless, jobless, filthy people outside. She turned again and lay on her back, staring upward toward the stars. I should have seen some of that stuff, she said, but I didn't. Those big walls, and everybody had a gun. There were guards every night. I thought we were so strong. I put my notebook and pen down and sat on my sleep sack and put my own pillowcased bundle behind me. Mine was lumpy and uncomfortable to lean on. I wanted it to be uncomfortable. I was tired. Everything ached. Given a little comfort, I would fall asleep. The sun was down now, and our fire had gone out except for a few glowing coals. I drew the gun and held it up in my lap. If I needed it at all, I would need it fast. We weren't strong enough to survive slowness or stupid mistakes. I sat where I was for 3 weary, terrifying hours. Nothing happened to me, but I could see and hear things happening. There were people moving around the hills, sometimes silhouetting themselves against the sky as they ran or walked over the hilltops. I saw groups and individuals. Twice I saw dogs, distant but alarming. I heard a lot of gunfire, individual shots, short bursts of automatic weapons fire. That last and the dogs worried me, scared me. A pistol would be no protection against a machine gun or an automatic rifle, and dogs might not know enough to be afraid of guns. Would a pack keep coming if I shot 2 or 3 of its members? I sat in a cold sweat, longing for walls, or at least for another magazine or 2 for the gun. Greetings, everyone. It was nearly midnight when I woke Harry, gave him the gun and the watch, and made him as uncomfortable as I could by warning him about the dogs, the gunfire, and the many people who wandered around at night. He did look awake and alert enough when I lay down. I fell asleep at once. Aching and exhausted, I found the hard ground as welcoming as my bed at home. A shout woke me. Then I heard gunfire, several single shots, thunderous and nearby. Harry? Something fell across me before I could even get out of my sleep sack. Something big and heavy. It knocked the breath out of me. I struggled to get it off me, knowing that it was a human body, dead or unconscious. As I pushed at it, it felt heavy. I felt its heavy beard, stubble, and long hair. I realized it was a man and not Harry, some stranger. I heard something scrambling and thrashing near me. There were grunts and sounds of blows, a fight. I could see them in the darkness, 2 figures struggling on the ground. The one on the bottom was Harry. He was fighting someone over the gun, and he was losing. The muzzle was being forced towards him. That couldn't happen. We couldn't lose the gun or Harry. I took a small granite boulder from our fire pit, set my teeth, and brought it down with all my strength on the back of the intruder's head, and I brought myself down. It wasn't the worst pain I'd ever shared, but it came close. I was worthless after delivering that one blow. I think I was unconscious for a while. Then Zara appeared from somewhere, feeling me, trying to see me. She wouldn't find a wound, of course. I sat up, fending her off, and saw that Harry was there too. Are they dead? I asked. Never mind them, he said. Are you all right? I got up, swaying from the residual shock of the blow. I felt sick and dizzy, and my head hurt. A few days before, Harry had made me feel that way, and we both recovered. Did that mean the man I had hit would recover? I checked him. He was still alive, unconscious, not feeling any pain now. What I was feeling was my own reaction to the blow I'd struck. The other one's dead, Harry said. This one, well, you caved in the back of his head. I don't know why he's still alive. Oh no, I whispered. Oh hell. And then to Harry, "Give me the gun." "Why?" he asked. My fingers had found the blood and broken skull, soft and pulpy at the back of the stranger's head. Harry was right. He should have been dead. "Give me the gun," I repeated, and I held out a bloody hand for it. "Unless you want to do this yourself." "You can't shoot him. You can't just I hope you'd find I'd hope you'd find the courage to shoot me if I were like that, out here with no medical care to be had. We shoot him or leave him here alive. How long do you think it'll take him to die? Maybe he won't die." I went to my pack, struggling to navigate without throwing up. I pulled it away from the dead man, groped within it. I found my knife. It was a good knife, sharp and strong. I flicked it open and cut the unconscious man's throat with it. Not until the flow of blood stopped did I feel safe. The man's heart had pumped his life away into the ground. He could not regain consciousness and involved me in his agony. But, of course, I was far from safe. Perhaps the last two people from my old life were about to leave me. I had shocked and horrified them. I wouldn't blame them for leaving. "Strip the bodies," I said. "Take what they have, then we'll put them into the shrub oaks down the hill where we gathered the wood." I searched the man I'd killed and found a small amount of money in his pants pocket and a larger amount in his right sock, matches, a packet of almonds, a packet of dried meat, and a packet of small round purple pills. I found no knife, no weapon of any kind. So this was not one of the pair that had sized us up earlier that night. I hadn't thought so. Neither of them had been long-haired. Both of these were. I put the pills back in the pocket I had taken them from. Everything else I kept. The money would help sustain us. The food might or might not be edible. I would decide that when I could see it clearly. I looked to see what the others were doing and was relieved to find them stripping the other body. Harry turned it over, then kept watch as Zara went through the clothing, shoes, socks, and hair. She was even more thorough than I had been, with no hint of squeamishness. She hauled off the man's clothing, examined his greasy pockets, seams, and hems. I got the feeling that she had done this before. "Money, food, and a knife," she whispered at last. "The other one didn't have a knife," I said, crouching beside them. Harry, what? "He had one," Harry whispered. "He pulled it when I yelled for them to stop. It's probably on the ground somewhere. Let's put these two down in the oaks." "You and I can do it," I said. "Give Zara the gun. She can guard us." I was glad to see him hand her the gun without protest. He had not made a move to hand it to me when I asked, but that had been different. We took the bodies down to the scrub oaks and rolled them into the cover. Then we kicked dirt over all the blood that we could see and the urine that one of the men had released. That wasn't enough. By mutual consent, we moved camp. This meant nothing more than gathering our bundles and sleep sacks and carrying them over the next low ridge and out of sight of where we had been. If you camped on a hill between any two of the many low, rib-like ridges, you could have almost the privacy of a big, open-topped, three-walled room. You were vulnerable from hill or ridge tops, but if you camped on the ridges, you would be noticed by far more people. We chose a spot between ridges, settled, and sat silent for some time. I felt set apart. I knew I had to speak, and I was afraid that nothing I could say would help. They might leave me in disgust, in distrust, in fear. They might decide that they couldn't travel with me any longer. Best to try to get ahead of them. "I'm going to tell you about myself," I said. "I don't know whether it will help you to understand me, but I have to tell you. You have a right to know." In low whispers, I told them about my mother, my biological mother, and about my sharing. When I finished, there was another long silence. Then Zara spoke, and I was so startled by the sound of her voice, of her soft voice, that I jumped. So when you hit that guy, she said, it was like you were hitting yourself? No, I said. I don't get I don't get the damage, just the pain. But I mean, you felt it like you hit yourself. I nodded. Close enough. When I was little, I used to bleed along with people if I hurt them or even if I saw them hurt. I haven't done that for years. I haven't done that for a few years. But if they're unconscious or dead, you don't feel anything. That's right. So that's why you killed that guy? I killed him because he was a threat to us, to me in a special way, but to you too. What could we have done? What could we have done about him? Abandon him to the flies, the ants, the dogs? You might have been willing to do that, but would Harry? Could we stay with him? For how long? To what purpose? Or would we dare or would we dare to hunt up a cop and try to report seeing a guy hurt without involving ourselves? Cops are not trusting people. I think they would want to check us out, hang on to us for a while, and maybe charge us with attacking the guy and killing his friend. I turned to look at Harry, who had not said a word. What would you have done? I asked. I don't know, he said, his voice hard with disapproval. I only know I wouldn't have done what you did. I wouldn't I wouldn't have I wouldn't have asked you to do it, I said. I didn't ask you. But Harry, I would do it again. I might have to do it again. That's why I'm telling you this. I glanced at Zara. I'm sorry I didn't tell you before. I knew I should, but talking about it is hard, very hard. I've never told anyone before. Now, I took a deep breath. Now everything's up to you. What do you mean? Harry demanded. I looked at him, wishing I could see his expression well enough to know whether this was a real question. I didn't think it was. I decided to ignore him. So what do you think? I asked, looking at Zara. Neither of them said anything for a minute. Then Zara began to speak, began to say such terrible things in that soft voice of hers. After a moment, I wasn't sure she was talking to us. My mama took drugs too, she said. Shit. Where I was born, everybody's mama took drugs and hoarded to pay for them and had babies all the time and threw them away like trash when they died. Most of the babies did die from the drugs or accidents or not having enough to eat or being left alone so much or from being sick. They were always getting sick. Some of them were born sick. They had sores all over and big things on their eyes, tumors, or no legs or fits or can't breathe right. All kinds of things. And some of the ones who lived were dumb as dirt. Can't think, can't learn, just sit around 9, 10 years old, peeing in their pants, rocking back and forth, and dripping spit down from their chins. There's lots of them. She took my hand and held it. You ain't got nothing wrong with you, Lauren. Nothing worth worrying about. That Paraceto shit was baby milk. How was it that Paraceto shit was baby milk? How was it that I had not gotten to know this woman back in the neighborhood? I hugged her. She seemed surprised, then hugged back. We both looked at Harry. He sat still, near us, but far from us, from me. What would you do, he asked, if that guy only had a broken arm or leg? I groaned, thinking about pain. I already knew more than I wanted to know about how broken bones feel. I think I'd let him go, I said, and I'm sure I would be sorry for it. It would be a long time before I stopped looking over my shoulder. You wouldn't kill him to escape the pain? I never killed anyone back in the neighborhood to escape pain. But a stranger, I've said what I would do. What if I broke my arm? Then I might not be much good to you. I would be having trouble with my arm too, after all, but we'd have 2 good arms between us. I sighed. We grew up together, Harry. You know me. You know what kind of person I am. I might fail you, but if I could help myself, I wouldn't betray you. I thought I knew you. I took his hands. looked at their big, pale, blunted fingers. They had a lot of strength in them, I knew, but I had never seen him use it to bully anyone. He was worth some trouble. Harry was. No one, no one is who we think they are, I said. That's what we get. That's what we get for not being telepathic. But you've trusted me so far, and I've trusted you. I just put my life in your hands. What are you going to do? Was he going to abandon me now in my infirmity instead of me maybe abandoning him at some future time due to a theoretical broken arm? And I thought, one oldest kid to another, Harry, would that be responsible behavior? He took his hands back. Well, I did know you were a manipulative bitch. Zara smothered a laugh. I was surprised. I'd never heard him use that word before. I heard it now as a sound of frustration. He was going to leave. He was a last bit of home that I didn't have to give up yet. How did he feel about that? Was he angry with me for almost breaking up the group? He had reason to be, I suppose. I don't understand how you could have been like this all this time, he said. How could you hide your sharing from everyone? My father taught me to hide it, I told him. He was right. In this world, there isn't any room for housebound, frightened, squeamish people. And that's what I might have become if everyone had known about me. All the other kids, for instance. The little kids are vicious. Haven't you noticed? But your brothers must have known. My father put the fear of God into them about it. He could do that. As far as I know, they never told anyone. Keith used to play funny tricks on me, though. So you faked everyone out. You must be a hell of an actor. I had to learn to pretend to be normal. My father kept trying to convince me that I was normal. He was wrong about that. But I'm glad he taught me the way that he did. Maybe you are normal. I mean, if the pain isn't real, then maybe this sharing thing is all in my head. Maybe the sharing thing is all in my head. Of course it is. And I can't get it out. Believe me, I'd love to. There was a long silence. Then he added, what do you write in your book every night? Interesting shift. My thoughts, I said. The day's events, my feelings, things you can't say, he asked. Things that are important to you? Yes. Then let me read something. Let me know something about you, something about the you that hides. I feel as though you're a lie. I don't know you. Show me something of you that's real. What a request. Or was it a demand? I would have given him money to read and digest some of the earthseed portions of my journal. But he had to be eased into them. If he read the wrong thing, it would just increase the distance between us. The risk you asked me to take, Harry. But yes, I'll show you some of what I've written. I want to. It'll be another first for me. All I ask is that you read what I show you aloud to Zara so Zara can hear it. As soon as it's light, I'll show you. When it was light, I showed him this. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Last year, I chose these lines to be the first page of the first book of the Earthseed, the books of the living. These lines say everything. Everything. Imagine him asking me for it. I must be careful. So that is all I am going to read for tonight. So tomorrow what's tomorrow? Yeah, Tuesday, I'll pick back up for a little bit. We'll be starting on chapter 17. We're on page 181 and the book ends on page 299. So we have a little over 100 pages left. So we'll pick back up with chapter 17 tomorrow, page 181. I will create the notification for that tonight so y'all can be made aware of that. So we should be done with this in a few days. And with that being said, now that I've been sitting in front of this computer for 4 hours, I'm going to go pull myself together. And I will remind you before getting off of here, if you watch any of my YouTube videos, please watch the advertisements. Please watch all the ads. Let them play all the way out. Even if you have to mute it and open up another tab to doom scroll or some shit, play the ads. That is a very easy way that you can support the channel, right? If you are interested, today is April 1st. Today is April 1st. Mercury just staging retrograde today. There are still some hours in the day. It's 7 o'clock where I am. Still several good working hours in the day. Today is a really great day to get a read. I did that reading before I got on this live. I did a reading for a woman right before I got on the live, and that reading was the jam, baby. I was like, I might have to read your cards on a live. It was a great read. So today is a really great day to get a reading. This first day in the month of April, that is April Fool's Day, and it is the first day of a very powerful Mercury retrograde. So there's still a few hours left. I do 30-minute readings and 1-hour readings. If you are interested in getting a nutritional consultation, that is 1 hour as well. You can, it's $85 for the 30-minute reading. It's $150 for the 1-hour reading. The nutritional consult will be accompanied by a write-up of the outcome of your consultation with herb formula recommendations, nutritional recommendations, dietary recommendations, an explanation of your diagnosis, and other lifestyle information that may be helpful depending upon what your outcome is. So if you are interested in a reading or a consult, please email me at releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. releaseheartcenter@gmail.com. I am available until I can take the last reading at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today is a good day to get a read. And with that being said, and also visit my my jewelry channel, or my jewelry site, which is www.DaughterOfTheFates, DaughterOfTheFates, Fates is plural, .etsy.com, DaughterOfTheFates.etsy.com. And with that being said, I would say good night. Thank you guys for rocking with me. Several of you were on for both lives today. So hopefully it was a lot of good information and power up. It was good to get back to the book today. I can't wait to see how it finishes. That being said, I'm going to log off for the night. Hope you're well. Have a prosperous day. Set great, big, fat, bodacious intentions for this month of April, because it is ours for the taking. Okay? It is ours for the taking. All right? Good night. My name is Cassandra Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence.